life is a paradox. It's not about being comfortable in just one truth. It's about knowing when to be open, knowing when to trust, and knowing when to express your boundaries. And understand that anyone that truly wants to be in your reality, anyone that truly wants to travel this Milky Way with yourself, will try to respect your boundaries. Welcome to this space of quantum conscious conversations. So today I want to talk about healthy boundaries. And I know this topic is going to benefit so many people and in specific star seeds and a lot of people in the spiritual community, light workers, and just in general, everyone. So what are healthy boundaries? What are boundaries? Life can be a paradox. We gotta know when to have boundaries, when to reinforce our boundaries, when to practice our boundaries. And we also gotta know when to be open, when to be vulnerable, when to communicate. Now, the topic of boundaries is a really big topic, especially in the spiritual community. And I really hope some of the tips that I can give you guys today during this video can lead you into a place of understanding from awareness. So I want to start by saying that boundaries are for yourself. They are for yourself. They're indicators of what you feel comfortable with and what you don't feel comfortable with. And boundaries are not necessarily for you to put on other people. They're not for you to use them as punishment. They're not necessarily walls that we build around us to protect ourselves. Boundaries are meant to keep you safe in your safe container. Your container that is your physical body, that is your true essence, your personal space, your dynamic self. Now, boundaries are nothing but indicators on what you feel comfortable, like I said earlier, and what you don't feel comfortable with. Now, how do we communicate these boundaries? So pretty much, first you have to be aware of what you feel comfortable with and what you don't feel comfortable with. Once you are aware of your boundaries, right? Then you have to communicate them with people, right? And how do we do that, right? You have to be vulnerable. We have to practice openness. We have to really tap in our hearts, in our mind, and communicate those boundaries. Even if the other person might feel uncomfortable having that conversation. Boundaries are for you to communicate them. How do we expect other people to respect our boundaries if we don't actually communicate them? If we don't express what they look like? Communicate your boundaries. Be open and vulnerable and communicate your boundaries. And why is that so important? Communication, it is the key of openness. It is the key of expansion. When we're communicating authentically, we allow the other person to understand us fully, to understand how our safe container works, how we feel comfortable, what things we feel comfortable doing, what other things we don't feel comfortable with doing. When we don't practice clear communication, what we do is we actually set ourselves to failure, because then we get into situations where other people cross your boundaries and they don't even know what they look like. We go through rants such as, why is this person doing this to me? She should know better. That was really rude. When we don't actually sit down and have a conversation with someone and express them, then how are we going to have people and our family and friends understand us. So we do have to communicate them. We do have to express them. We want to be heard. We want to be seen. And sometimes you have to take the lead. Sometimes you have to speak up. And clear communication is not about aggressively going at someone and telling them, well, you're crossing this, you're crossing that. It's about finding that centeredness and expressing yourself from a non-aggressive perspective. Expressing yourself authentically, calm, and maybe during the moment when someone crosses your boundaries and you're feeling a lot of emotions and your body's feeling a lot of emotions, and just take some space. But you don't want to get to that level. You don't want to get to that level when someone is constantly crossing your boundaries and you're getting to a point where you are about to explode, where you are about to scream and become really aggressive and communicate a really, really bad way. Now, let's go back into time and understand that when we clearly communicate our boundaries, we give the other person the opportunity to try to understand where we're coming from, to try to understand how our safe container works. This is really why healthy boundaries are so dynamic, because it really involves you to express what they look like, to express what you feel comfortable with, what you don't resonate with. So it really takes you to express that, because people need to understand where you're coming from. And if you don't speak up and if you don't necessarily talk about your boundaries and what they look like I said earlier, then you rob the other person from understanding you, from trying to understand you authentically. One of the ways that we can express ourselves and communicate our boundaries can look like this. You go and have a conversation with your friend, your family, or whoever you feel the need to express your boundary. Now, you try to express your boundary from a calm state of awareness. And why is that? Why is that I advise people to communicate from a calm state of awareness? Because oftentimes when we are feeling a lot of emotions, when we're angry, when we're upset, what we do is that we dig ourselves more into that hole, because there we are making a lot of decisions out of anger, out of feeling upset. But when you find your centeredness, and then from there you're ready to make decisions in your life, such as expressing a boundary, there you allow the other person to really understand that what you're expressing is meaningful to you. What you're expressing is really important. If we try to express our boundaries when we are feeling a lot of emotions and you're face to face with that person, both of you are feeling those emotions because your magnetic field is radiating all that energy, all those emotions, all those vibrations. So it can be really tricky and hard to understand. And the reason I advise people to communicate their boundaries from a calm state is because later on in life, it's going to be more easy for you to just express your boundaries from a calm state, rather than trying to change your life or create boundaries when you're feeling a lot. I don't necessarily think that you want to do that. I think that, and I feel like it's healthier for you to express yourself when you're calm. We have to normalize having uncomfortable conversations in our relationships, because oftentimes these uncomfortable relationships can quantum jump us into a better universe, into a better version of ourselves. And speaking from your heart, speaking from your authentic self, and expressing what your safe container looks like is allowing other people to not poison your waters. The spiritual community is a sacred space, and it is a really dynamic community because we are constantly transmutating, we're constantly alchemizing, and we're constantly growing, right? So we walk around in this community, and sometimes our own friends in the spiritual community might trigger us, because they are downloading light codes from the universe, from source energy all the time. And that light is so potent, so beautiful. It's so strong that when it is being shined around, what it does is that if your ego and your mind has a pattern or a behavior that is not in alignment with that light, it's going to try to run away from it. The mind is so powerful. The mind can create amazing, intense, beautiful manifestations. The mind is so powerful, but the mind can also be deadly. When the mind is attracting and connecting with the ego and is creating a lot of chaos and division, there your mind can actually take you to really bad places. And like I said earlier, life is a paradox. It's about knowing when to be open, when to trust people, and when to express what your boundaries look like, when to implement new boundaries. It's about when to reinforce your boundaries. Now I want to take you to the next step of healthy boundaries. So in the middle of healthy relationships and healthy boundaries, we have respect. Why is respect so important? Because when we respect other people, we honor them. We understand that they are divine beings. And we understand that they are having also a temporary human experience. Where our lives are such a dynamic reality. Now, so in a healthy relationship, we need to have trust. We need to have support. We need to have accountability. We need to have safety and honesty. Society is driven by feeling drama, feeling gossip. But when we express our boundaries to someone that we care for, or someone that we truly want to have in our lives, like I said earlier, we give them the opportunity to understand us and see us. There, we are planting those seeds for later on in the future. We don't end up in those scenarios of drama where we see them crossing our boundaries, and there we feel like we have to lash out. If you want to minimize situations where you and your loved one, your friend, your family member, or anyone that you need to communicate with, experience a lot of resistance or a lot of chaos or a lot of that bad energy, then I suggest you to speak up. Speak from a non-violent energy. I advise you to talk about it. Talk clear. Show them that you can trust them, but show them that your safe container is really important. Communicate that what you feel comfortable with, it's really important to yourself. Communicate all those things that you don't feel comfortable with. When the mind ends up having a mind blockage, what we often do is just run away from relationships. We run away and then we demonize people and we express and say, well, this person did this to me. That's why I had to cut her off. But have you asked yourself in your past relationships, did I give them the opportunity to know where I was coming from? Did I express my boundaries? Did I express myself fully, authentically, and clearly? And if your answer is yes, you did express yourself authentically, you did have those conversations with those individuals, and you expressed them what your safe container looks like, what do you feel comfortable with? If the answer to that question is yes, you did all of that, then there you can, again, be in your state of awareness and understand, do I really want to continue this relationship? Is this relationship healthy for me, or is this a toxic relationship? We have to let go of the idea of demonizing other people for crossing our boundaries, especially if we didn't do anything about it, especially if we don't communicate what they look like, especially if we just assume the other person. Healthy boundaries is not about punishing people. When they do something that you don't like, when they do something that makes you feel bothered, it's not about punishing them and giving them a wall and telling them you can't do this. And sometimes it might look like that because sometimes in your life you're going to evolve and there's going to be a lot of new things that you're not going to feel comfortable with doing anymore. But it's not about putting walls to people. It's about finding that safe center and expressing yourself, such as, that behavior that you expressed, I didn't feel comfortable with that. Can you please not do that again? Or can you please not express yourself that way towards me? Because express why that makes you feel uncomfortable so the other person can understand you fully. We all come from a really different perspective of love. Everyone has a different childhood. And in essence, the definition of love that you have and that you share towards other people is the same definition of love that you had when you were a kid in your childhood. For example, in your childhood, if you were allowed to constantly show disrespect and get away with it without consequences, then you grow up as an adult and you just cross people's boundaries. You don't show any respect. You don't show any support. You're not honest. You don't take any accountability for your actions. The spiritual community is so dynamic because we are constantly growing and healing. We are constantly understanding that the feminine divine energy within ourselves is always healing us. It's always healing those toxic masculine traits that we might have inherited as kids. So the shadow work about this video is that sometimes when we attract other people that are really toxic, that are constantly crossing our boundaries, there you have the opportunity. Your higher self is giving you the opportunity to know why. Are your boundaries set? Have you expressed your boundaries? Do you take the time to fully, authentically express what your safe container looks like? So I want to encourage anyone that is watching this to express yourself authentically and express yourself from a calm state. Because there, like I said earlier in this video, you give the other person an opportunity to fully hear you. And it's not going to be distracted by hard, intense emotions of anger. If you're expressing yourself and if you want to make new boundaries only when you're angry and all of that, I don't really see that as something sustainable for yourself. Because you do want to be able to express yourself calm. So know that you have the opportunity to teach other people how they can love you. Even current people in your reality. You can make new boundaries. You can implement new boundaries. And understand that anyone that truly wants to be in your reality, anyone that truly wants to travel this Milky Way with yourself will try to respect your boundaries. And I would advise people to try to work with those people that you do see that they want to work with you, And even if it takes them a month for them to respect or navigate your boundaries, if you feel like they're really doing an effort, work with them. Because life is not about just walking around and cutting people off. It's not about scrutinizing other people. It's not about putting people on eggshells. It's about communicating yourself, expressing yourself clear, allowing the other person to know where you're coming from, and then seeing results. Because someone that truly loves you will learn how to respect your boundaries. Someone that truly wants to be in your reality will respect your boundaries. And maybe it will take some time, but in the end, it will be worth it. It is a little easier to express your boundaries with new people, with new friends, because there you can express what your safe container looks like. And it is a little easier to do that. And I find that sometimes implementing boundaries with people that we know for a long time, I understand that sometimes that can be a little tricky, because maybe in the past, if you didn't have any boundaries with those persons, and now all of a sudden you're no longer feeling comfortable with doing such things or behaviors, and then you want to implement boundaries, right? And perhaps those people benefited from you not having any boundaries. So it really is tricky to implement and reinforce new boundaries as they come up with older relationships. But it's not impossible, because like I said earlier, anyone that truly loves you will meet you where you are now. When we truly love someone and when we really care about someone, we learn to love them at their new self at all times. In the beginning of this video, I expressed that life is a paradox. It's not about being comfortable in just one truth. It's about knowing when to be open, knowing when to trust, and knowing when to express your boundaries. When someone that you love crosses your boundaries, it hurts you. And you get emotions and feelings. And maybe there's resentment built. And I know that there is time to feel all those emotions. So it really is not about suppressing any of that. It's about feeling that, taking your time to heal, taking your time to open your heart again to that person. Only if you really want to have that person in your reality. Only if that person is willing to do the work and respect you. Life, like I said, is not about just believing that there's just one truth. Oftentimes in this society, that whole mantra of trust no one is always everywhere. You can't trust anybody. But that is a mantra of the Matrix. In the spiritual community, we get to heal. We get to trust again, over and over. And we know when to open up. And we know when to close the doors. But know that your healthy boundaries are meant to be expressed. They're meant for you to express yourself authentically. You have the power to teach other people how to love you. You have that power, because that power is so big and it comes from your heart. And when you connect your heart chakra into your throat chakra, you express exactly what you want in your reality. So it's not about animating or creating characters or narratives on other people. It's about vibrational match. You express what you feel comfortable with. You express what you don't feel comfortable with. And if that person is a vibrational match, that person will give you and mirror that of what you feel comfortable with. And if your relationship is at a point where this person is crossing your boundaries all the time and you can see that this person doesn't care, and you're getting to a point where there is physical abuse arising, you need to leave. Because staying in this victimhood, in this place, in this low vibration, where people just want to hurt you, and then that's your mantra, that people hurt you and people are bad. Maybe you need some time to be alone. Maybe you need some time to heal. Maybe you need some time to be away from all these people. Life is about walking the earth with an open heart. When we walk around with all these walls in front of us, How do we expect other people to get to know us? How do we expect other people to see us from who we are? How do we expect other people to feel us? Life is about healing and opening the heart again and again and knowing when to let go. So if you come from a perspective where a lot of people constantly cross your boundaries, know that you can take some time to heal, but know that there's people out there that will respect you. People that will meet you where you want to be met. People that will love you how you like to be loved. There is great people out there, but when we spend so much time in giving opportunities over and over to people that constantly cross our boundaries because we maybe don't have anyone else, we waste our time because we give our entire energy to just those individuals. And then we rob ourselves from making room for better and new people. I myself will attract, in the early stages of my awakening, I will attract toxic people. And I didn't necessarily have any boundaries. I didn't necessarily express much. And what that created was for people to just continue crossing my boundaries, right? But I knew it was going to get better. I knew that I was going to evolve. And something within me always knew that better things were going to come. And that's exactly what happened. New friends started coming up. But I had to heal. I had to show up. I had to express what my boundaries look like to new people. I had to let go of a lot of friends that were no longer a vibrational match to myself. That were, instead of bringing something good to me, were poisoning my waters. And I had to forgive, let go, and move on. And I know sometimes it's hard to move on and let go. But sometimes it's needed to do that. And like I said, life is a paradox. It's knowing when to be open and knowing when to be the mirror of what your boundaries look like. So if you're a starseed or a light worker and you're in a place now where you are losing a lot of friends, it's okay. It's going to get better. Trust me. Because your higher self, it is only clearing a lot of people that are no longer a vibrational match to yourself. And think about it this way. If you're losing a lot of friends, it's because the universe is clearing energy to bring you better friends. And it is really about focus, because if you are focusing on trying to fix a broken glass that is already shattered, there you're putting all your attention there. Know that people have contracts with you before you even reincarnate into the school of earth. You make these contracts for you to wake up. You make these contracts for you to expand. And not everyone is meant to be in your reality, in your life forever. A lot of people have expiration dates. But just know that people that somehow always end up in your life are probably your soulmates or your spiritual tribe, your spiritual family, your spiritual friends. People that genuinely want you to do good. People that genuinely support you. People that genuinely take accountability of their actions when they might have crossed your boundaries. Work with people that you know can do better, but know when to let go. And for anyone that is watching that is in a physical abuse relationship, know that you can leave. Know that you can get help. There is a lot of help out there. And it only takes you to just make that step. Know that nobody has control of you. Know that you can always cut those cords. Know that your heart is so full of light, and maybe during those dark times you can't see it. But know that your life can always change. Quantum jump into a better place. Life is not so serious. Express what your safe container looks like. Practice what your safe container looks like. Practice and express what you feel comfortable with. And know that the people that really love you, want to be in your reality, they will implement these new patterns. They will do that because they want to be in your reality. They will respect you. So it really is all about communicating. It's all about communicating, especially when you friends, when you're meeting them. Express who you are. Express what you love. Express how you want to be loved. Then you give them the opportunity for them to analyze and observe if you guys are a good match. And if not, you guys can go your own way. How can we have healthy boundaries in the 5D community? If you are a extrasensory person, a really sensitive person, a starseed or a light worker, know that we know when we're traveling in this universe. We know when energies are presented. Work with the beings of light that are already in your reality. Work with the angels that are already in your reality. Whoever you feel comfortable with. Shielding is important. When you shield yourself from your heart, you create magnetic fields all around you that will keep you safe, that will keep you in a good place. When we shield ourselves from fear, it backfires. It works, but it will backfire because then other people or new people won't be able to see you. They won't be able to feel you. Shielding from your heart center portal, it is advised because there you are so connected to source energy, so connected to angels or the light beings that you work with, or even just your heart center. It is the connection to source energy. And the more you're open to source energy, the more you know the truth, which is love. And you know that fear is only an illusion. So when you wake up, you can practice shielding. You can just command it. You can just speak within yourself or even vocally. Say such as, "Dear angels, please surround me with the most beautiful light. Be here with me today. Fulfill me with the energy that I might need today. Thank you." When we shield ourselves with high vibrational beings, they were not a vibrational match to lower energies. Remember that you can only be a vibrational match to low vibrational energies only when you're in that energy, because they're your magnetic field to it. When we shield ourselves from fear, we do get the protection that we need. But in the long run, we create a new pattern in our minds that we need to be protected because something is about to get us. Because we're not safe. Because we need protection. Because lower energies are about to get us. Now, I don't necessarily suggest that because living in a state of fear that you constantly need to protect yourself is not sustainable. Waking up and doing a mantra such as, "I allow the angels to be here with me today." As simple as that, that's all you need. As we grow, we evolve. And life is about expansion and constantly evolving. And developing boundaries is a crucial, important part of yourself because it reflects who you are. It reflects how you want to be seen or what you want to express. So in other words, Developing and creating boundaries, it is a crucial part of yourself because it's a reflection of how you feel. It's a reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of what you want to experience in this life. So if you want to live a comfortable, happy, successful life, creating and implementing boundaries and reinforcing them when they have to be reinforced is always going to be so important. And remember that if you find yourself in a loophole with a person, when you're constantly expressing the same boundary over and over, ask yourself, is this person really going to respect my boundary? Is this really important to this person? If you find yourself expressing and communicating clearly the same boundary over and over, and you're stuck in that loophole, maybe it is time to let go. And you don't necessarily have to let go forever. Maybe you can just take some space and some time and become less available. Oftentimes when people no longer have access to our energy, they get to reflect, they get to think. And if they truly want you to be in their reality, they will reflect, they will think, they will make those decisions to respect your boundaries. Remember that people that are toxic will see you implementing and reinforcing and communicating boundaries from a place of them being punished because they don't have access to that specific pattern, right? And know that you're not punishing them. You're expressing how you want to be respected. Life is all about sharing energy. And when you're constantly sharing your energy, we're just inviting someone to your personal space and this person brings this energy that you don't necessarily like, you have the opportunity and the responsibility to not allow that to happen. Because if you want to live a successful and happy life, you have the responsibility to speak up. Oftentimes when you don't give any consequences to other people, they tend to continue doing the same thing. They tend to not try to work things out or implement and respect your boundary. And by consequences, I don't necessarily mean you punishing them or doing behaviors that are not healthy. I'm talking about your energy, them having access to your energy. You have the ability to not allow other people to have access to you. You can also retract and become less available. I open my heart today to new opportunities. I open my heart so open that I'm always there connected to source energy. That light, that pure light flowing through me. There I don't need any protection because my alignment is my truest protection. Healthy boundaries is about knowing yourself, knowing what you feel comfortable with, expressing that, expressing to other people, expressing that to yourself. Even in the mornings, if you have to express that and command and say mantras that will keep you in a safe place, that's all you need. Thank you. Thank you.